Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I'm going to be doing my March TBR. March, I do have a theme. It's middle grade, partially because of the middle grade March readathon, which is hosted by Books and Jams, which I'll link that down below if you guys haven't seen it. I'm not doing any of the challenges for that. I'm just reading middle grade books in March because one, I love middle grade and I don't get to it that often. So like last year, I kind of started doing this and I really enjoy it. So like with all of my themes, the classic, the reread, and then 2 other books are going to meet those themes, as well as the poll book, which you guys voted on last week. Also, I'm doing something a little bit different starting this month. If you guys have been watching my channel for a while, then you know I have wrapped books. These books are books that I've wanted to unhaul, but I decided to give them one last chance before unhauling them. And I've been unwrapping one book like every week or every 2 weeks, and I've been really bad at actually doing it. And part of the reason why is a lot of times the book I unwrap, I'm just not in the mood for. So instead of doing it on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis, I'm gonna unwrap 2 books a month so I could read them anytime during that month based on, you know, what I'm feeling to read at the time. I think it'll definitely make me a little bit more successful in reading my unwrapped books. So that's what I'm planning on doing this month. So without further ado, we're gonna get into my TBR. So first of all, we're gonna start with my classic for this month, and that is Little Women by Louisa Alcott. This is like probably the oldest book in my collection. Not oldest published, but like the first book that I got, because I got this book when I was in elementary school. It was like one of the first books that I picked up, and I promptly DNF'd it. Like I did not read it. I got like pretty far, like I was almost to the end. I don't know how far into the book I got. I don't remember very much about it, and the new movie just came out for Little Women, which I do want to watch, but I want to actually read the book first. So this will be one of my first books that I read in the month of March, and I'm really, really excited for it. I've heard really great things about this book, and I remember reading it from when I was little. Like I remember a lot of things about this book. Like it's about 4 sisters, and it's kind of almost autobiographical with the way the author grew up. And I kind of know the spoiler of the ending as well. But I'm still excited to read it, and hopefully I'll end up liking this one. And then my reread for the month is gonna be Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. It's been about a year since I've reread the Harry Potter series, and I used to read them like in December all the time, but now that I've started my rereads in December, I like don't have time to reread the Harry Potter series because I have a bunch of other books that I want to reread. So I figured for middle grade March, it would be the perfect time to reread this series. I don't know if I'm going to get to the entire series, but I'll at least get to the first book in the series. And I'll probably actually be reading Illustrated Edition, which I got recently, and I haven't read the Illustrated Edition yet. So I'm pretty excited for this. And then for the 2 other books for my theme, the first book I'm planning on reading in the month of March is The Titan's Curse by Riordan. This is the 3rd book in the Percy Jackson series. No, I have not read the Percy Jackson series. I've read the first 2 books. I really, really loved the first book, The Lightning Thief. I ended up giving it 5 stars. And then the second book, Sea of Monsters, I enjoyed. It wasn't my favorite ever, but I did enjoy it, and I ended up giving that one 4 stars. I've been meaning to continue on with the Percy Jackson series for the longest while, and I just haven't gotten to it. So I figured in the month of March would be the perfect time to do it. I know this series is super popular. Tons of people love it. I think it was a little bit after my time. Like I was in high school when this series started coming out. So that's why I didn't read it back then. But I feel like I'll end up liking this series a lot too. So I'm pretty excited for it. And hopefully I'll end up liking this one as much as I did the first one, because the first one I really, really loved. And the next middle grade book that I'm planning to read in the month of March is A Hero's Guide to Deadly Dragons by Cressida Cowell. This is the 6th book in the How to Train Your Dragon series. I started the How to Train Your Dragon series last year, and I automatically fell in love with that first book. I love this world because it's set in like a Viking era, but dragons exist, and it's following a character named Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III, who is gonna become this legendary hero. But during the settings of these books, he's still a prepubescent boy who can be kind of pathetic at times. And so far, I really love this series. The first 2 books in the series, I absolutely love. Like I gave both of them 5 stars. And since then, I've kind of plateaued a little bit with the series, but I'm excited to continue on with it. Like I bought the entire series when I read the first book because of how much I loved it. So I'm excited to continue on with it. I might continue on with more than just this book in the series. I might continue on with the next couple of books in the series just because these are like really short. I read them like in one sitting, in one night. I can finish one of these books. So I might continue on with more books in the series. But so far, I'll at least read the 6th book in the series because It's been over a year since I started this series, and I think it's time for me to finally continue on and finish this series. Hopefully I can finish it this year. Now moving on from middle grade to YA, I'm planning on picking up Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. It has been over 6 months since I read the first book in the series, Six of Crows, and I'm really excited to continue on with this one. Like, I think it's finally time for me to read Crooked Kingdom, and I'm really excited about it. I love the characters in the series, I love the atmosphere and the world building in this duology, and I'm really excited to finally see like what happens in Crooked Kingdom, because Six of Crows is really great, and it left off on kind of, not a cliffhanger exactly, but kind of, and I'm excited to see how everything turns out in Crooked Kingdom. So I'm really excited for this, and hopefully I'll end up liking it as much as the first one, or even more than the first one, because the first one's a little bit slow, and I've heard that in Crooked Kingdom the plot picks up a little bit, so I'm really excited for that. Now moving on to the adult books that I plan to read in March. The first one I'm going to start with is the only non-fantasy book that I have left on this TBR, and that's Dune by Frank Herbert. So I've been meaning to read some more like classic sci-fi books, and Dune is one that people talk about a lot. I know it's a very polarizing book because a lot of people don't like it, and then a lot of people really love it. And based off of some people that I know who have similar opinions to me, I have a feeling that Dune could be one that I really love. So I'm hoping that it will be. I don't know anything about this book, like literally nothing about this book. So hopefully I'll end up liking it. It is like ginormous though, so it's a little intimidating, especially since I'm pretty new to sci-fi, but I'm hoping that I'll still end up loving it. I've already gotten the audiobook from this one so that I can switch between the physical and the audiobook, because I know that always helps me, especially when they're like huge books. So hopefully I'll end up loving this one as well. So the next book that I'm planning on picking up in the month of March is Forest Mage by Robin Hobb. So this is the second book in the Soldier Sun trilogy. Last month in February, I had to pick up the Soldier Sun trilogy for my fantasy book series challenge, and I loved the first book. Like, I mean, I didn't love it, like I gave it 4.25 stars, like it wasn't a 5-star book for me. I was super into the story while I was reading it, especially the atmosphere of the story. I just love Robin Hobb's writing, and I was just really excited to pick up the next book in the series. So I have the audiobook on hold so I can switch between the audio and the physical book, because Robin Hobb's writing lends really well to audio, which I really enjoy, but I'm really excited to continue on with this series. Like, this is not one that I feel like I want to continue on because of the plot. Like, there's nothing really in the plot that draws me to it, but I love the characters and the atmosphere of this writing, and just how detailed it is makes me want to just continue reading, and I'm really excited to get to this one. For those of you who don't know, the Soldier Sun trilogy is about a character named Navarre, who is the second son of a second son, and it's set in this high fantasy world, which means that he has to be the soldier son, and there are a lot of social and political issues that are brought into the story. And in the first book, he goes to the military academy to learn to become an officer, and so it's set in that kind of academy sort of style setting where you get to know all of the other characters that are in his classes and all of that, and I just really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited to continue on. The next book that I'm planning to pick up in the month of March is All the King's Blood by Daniel Abrams. So this is the second book in the Dagger and Coin series. This is another one of the series that I had to pick up because of my fantasy book series challenge. So this one was one that I picked up in January. The first book is The Dragon's Path, which I ended up giving The Dragon's Path 3.75 stars. It wasn't my favorite book of all time, but I really enjoyed the atmosphere and world of this one as well, and I really liked the characters. The plot of The Dragon's Path wasn't quite what I wanted it to be, but I've heard from a lot of people commenting on my videos that the first book is not so good, but the rest of the series was really good, and I'm really excited for that. So this series kind of follows several different main point of view characters. It has characters that are within the banking system of this world, and then other characters that are with the nobility and the military of the world, and it kind of depicts like the differences between those two societies and other social political issues also, which I really enjoy, and I'm really excited to continue on with this one. Before we get to my reading challenges and my poll books and all of that, the last book on this list is A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie. I am so excited for this book. You guys have no idea. I've been meaning to pick this book up ever since it came out back in November, but I wanted to finish all the other books up to this one, and I'm currently reading the 7th book in the First Law world, which is Sharp Ends, and I'm gonna be finishing it soon, and as soon as I finish it, I'm gonna be picking up A Little Hatred. So this is the first book in a new trilogy set in the First Law world, which, as you guys can tell, I love the First Law world. Joe Abercrombie is one of my new favorite writers from last year, and I'm really excited to start his new series. I've heard such great things about A Little Hatred, and I cannot wait to pick this one up. I don't know anything about it other than it's the next book in the First Law world, and that's really all I need to know, and I'm really excited for it. Also, this is one of my 5-star predictions, and I can't wait to read it. So now we're gonna move on to my reading challenges and the poll. So first of all, we're gonna do my Unwrapped book challenge. So I'm gonna unwrap 2 books for you guys, and these are books that I had planned to unhaul, but decided not to. And we're gonna see what they are, and we're gonna add it to my TBR. So this is the first book. Let's see what it is. So this book is The Truth of Right Now by Carolee Corthron. I bought this book on Book Outlet. Like, it was only $1, which is why I picked it up. I know it's a YA contemporary, and that's literally all I know about it. Oh, yeah, that's the reason why I originally decided to pick it up. So it's about 2 characters, and one of the characters, his father is from Trinidad, which I'm from Trinidad, so I've never actually read a book like set in the United States about a character who was from Trinidad. So that's why I wanted to pick this one up, because I wanted to see what it was about, but I never ended up actually picking it up. But I'm excited to read it. I don't know anything about this book other than what I just mentioned, but we'll see. It's pretty short, so I feel like it could potentially be really good or potentially just not have that much to it, but I don't know. We'll see, and hopefully I'll end up liking it. This one's a lot thicker, so I'm a little worried. So this one's kind of perfect because it's a middle grade book. It's Furthermore by Tahereh Mafi. Tahereh Mafi is an author that I haven't read anything by. She's a pretty hyped author on BookTube, so that's why I ended up picking this one up, partially because she's a pretty hyped author and I like middle grade, and I love this cover. Like, I really love this cover. Otherwise, I don't know anything about this book, but it is like perfect timing since it's a middle grade March and I'm unwrapping a middle grade book. So hopefully I'll end up liking this one and continue on with the series, because I believe this is the first book in a middle grade fantasy series, which should be interesting. But I love the cover. The cover is so beautiful, which is why I ended up picking it up in the first place. This was another Book Outlet buy for me, by the way, and it was a complete whim, so hopefully I'll end up liking this one as well. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to my fantasy book series challenge. For those of you who don't know, my fantasy book series challenge, I put a bunch of fantasy series that I've been meaning to read for the longest while into this little mug, and I get to pick out 2 every month, and I have to read the first book in each of those series, and then I can decide based off of the first book whether I want to continue on with the series or not. So far it's been pretty successful, so I'm excited to continue on with it. So this is the first one I picked out. It's the Lincanish trilogy by James Islington. So the first book in this series is The Shadow of What Was Lost, obviously by James Islington. I'm really excited for this. Like, I'm really excited for this. This is a series that I've been meaning to pick up, like, since I first picked up the Wheel of Time series, because a lot of people have said, like, if you love the Wheel of Time series, this is a series that you should definitely read. And the 3rd book in the series just came out last year, so, like, it's complete. Like, it is a complete trilogy, and I'm really excited to pick it up. I've heard both really good things and really not so good things about it, which is why it ended up being in my mug rather than just on my TBR for this year. But I'm really excited for it. Like, I'm really excited for this. I don't know anything about it other than it's always compared to the Wheel of Time series, which is one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. So I'm, like I said, really excited for this one. And I get to pick out one more. Okay, so I got Acts of Cain by Matthew Woodring Stover. So I don't actually own the first book in this series, but it's called Heroes Die by Matthew Woodring Stover, obviously. The only thing I've actually heard about the series was that it's the ultimate anti-hero series. It also is one of those that could be fantasy or sci-fi, like you're not really sure which one it is. So I really don't know anything about the series, and I've never heard anyone actually talk about it like on BookTube or anything like that, but it comes up in a lot of like favorite like grimdark fantasy sort of lists, especially anti-hero fantasy lists. So I'm pretty excited for this. I'm gonna have to either get the book or borrow it from my library or something, but I'm definitely excited to read this one because I've been meaning to pick up for a while, like, I mean like years. and hopefully I'll end up liking it. Okay, so before we leave, the last thing we have to do is talk about my poll. So you guys voted on my last TBR for the month of March of what I was gonna read. Obviously, my theme was middle grade books, and you guys chose The False Prince by Jennifer A. Nielsen. I don't know anything about this book, but I'm excited to read it. This book has been on my radar mostly because of the similarities to the title The Cruel Prince, which I love The Cruel Prince. I know this has nothing to do with that, but that's the reason why it's like been on my radar, because of that, and I really love the cover for it. So I'm excited to see what it's about. I don't know anything about this book. It came in by really small margins, by the way, also for those of you who wanted me to read one of the other books. It got 12 votes on the poll, and then Small Spaces got 11, and Dragon Pearl got 10 votes. So it beat out those by really, really small margins. So like if I get a chance, I might pick up the other two also, like if I have time during the month, but The False Prince will be the first one that I pick up, and hopefully I'll end up liking it. So for next month, I don't have a theme for the month of April, but we are still gonna have a poll. So for this one, I'm gonna be doing 2019 releases that were pretty hyped that I've been meaning to read but haven't gotten around to picking up. Most of these are gonna be books that I'll probably end up picking up on audio from my library. The first book on this list is Middlegame by Seanan McGuire. So this one came out pretty early on in the year, and I meant to pick it up like literally all year. Like I borrowed it from my library several times and just never got around to reading it. This is an adult fantasy book by Seanan McGuire, obviously, and I don't know anything about it. I know it's a pretty thick book though, but I've heard a lot of really great things about it. The next book on this list is Gideon the Ninth by Tasman Muir. So this book actually recently just got nominated for the BookTube SFF Awards, both for Best Sci-Fi and Best Debut of the Year, which I had this book on my radar before it got onto the shortlist for those awards. I've heard a lot of people talking about, but it's again another one that I don't know very much about, but I've heard really great things. So the next book on this list, I actually have a physical copy of, and that's The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. So this is the book that I bought at the beginning of the year, one because it was on sale on Amazon, so I decided to pick it up, and because a lot of people were talking about it. I don't really know very much about this one, but it's kind of like a YA thriller, talks something about gender, and there's some magical aspect to this as well, which I'm excited for, but I don't know anything else about this book, but it's definitely one that has gotten a lot of hype recently, and I want to see what it's about. The next book on this list is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. So this is another book that I've been meaning to pick up for a while. Like it's been on my holds for my library that I've put it on hold and returned it and put it on hold again over and over again, because a lot of people have talked about this book and how good it is. It's another one that I feel like is a little bit darker. I don't know if there are fantasy themes in this one, but it's one that I've had on my radar for a while. So the last book on this poll is Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. So this one is one that I feel like is very polarizing, because this is also sort of a horror novel, maybe, or it might be fantasy. I'm not really sure. It's by the author who wrote The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I read for school, but I really, really loved, and I want to see what it's about. So if you guys have read any of these books, please let me know down in the comments, because I would love to discuss it with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I post videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, so consider subscribing. I also post bonus videos, so if you want to be notified as soon as I upload, you can click that little bell icon. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.